Raiders take their playoff hopes to Indy. It's a battle with the Colts for AFC wildcard glory. Can the Raiders stay in the hunt as the upstart defense leads the way? The Silver and Black Show starts now. We are rounding out 2023 with a huge lineup. He's taken the NFL by storm since becoming a Raider. Cornerback Jack Jones joins the show, and we get the scoop on the Colts from ESPN's NFL Nation reporter Stephen Holder. Plus, Silver and Black Productions' finest, Super Bowl champ James Jones checks in. Welcome into the Silver and Black Show, everyone. I'm Amber Theoharis. It is Week 17, and the Raiders' playoff hopes are not only alive, they could actually win the division. The Raiders would have to win out and the Chiefs lose out, but think about that. Just how far this team has come in 8 weeks. The sky wasn't just falling back on Halloween, it actually fell. Antonio Pierce came in and has gone 4-3 by convincing a team of frustrated superstars and talented young players to follow him. The players chose to believe in a man they knew, a man who was a Super Bowl champ himself, one whose passion as a linebackers coach probably stood out, and one whose deep and authentic love for the Raiders organization made his quest personal. After beating the Chiefs on Christmas Day, Pierce has made one heck of a case for his future with the Raiders. That celebration we saw in Arrowhead's visiting locker room is evidence of a changing culture, a group of men who, like their interim coach, simply believe. And no matter how this season ends, that's a long-term win for the Raiders. But they got to try to steal a wild card spot from the Colts, who currently sit in the 7th seed. And to talk about this huge AFC matchup, we welcome in ESPN NFL Nation Colts reporter Stephen Holder. And Stephen, welcome into the Silver and Black Show. Happy New Year to you.
Hey, same to you. Thanks for having me. Big game on Sunday.
It is. It's a huge game, and the Colts have lost 2 of their last 3. What has the temperature been like in that Colts building this week?
It's a very interesting time for them. I mean, they won 5 of 6 prior to this stretch, and now to lose 2 of 3, they have to prove that they can kind of bounce back. Now, they did that already in the last couple of weeks. There was a loss earlier this month at Cincinnati, a very disconcerting loss by double digits. They bounced back a week later, actually 6 days later, and had a huge win against Pittsburgh that really kind of precipitated some issues that were happening with Mike Tomlin's team. So they showed some resiliency there, and they'll have to do it again. Just a really disappointing loss in Atlanta last week. And so, look, this is the team that they've been all year, a team that has overcome odds, a team that has responded to difficult circumstances, a lot of the same things you're talking about with the Raiders right now. So we'll see. I think 2 teams that are very like-minded and have proven themselves in very similar ways.
That's why it's going to be such a fun game to watch. But under rookie head coach Shane Steichen, this is a top 9 scoring offense. They can put up some points, but you mentioned that loss to the Falcons. They only put up 10 points. And I'm wondering why they couldn't get anything going, especially with Jonathan Taylor back. I mean, what did you see from that offense?
I thought something that was pretty disappointing from my perspective was the offensive line just not winning up front. And frankly, I don't think the offensive or defensive lines won at the line of scrimmage on Sunday, but it was a little surprising given the fact that they were coming off, in my estimation, their best performance, that offensive line, their best performance of the season against Pittsburgh. They ran for, I believe, over 170 yards in that game, to come back a week later and rushed for about 90 yards against Atlanta, but didn't have nearly the same kind of success. And that running game just never got on track. They were missing Michael Pittman, their top wide receiver. No one else really stepped forward to fill that void. So that really cost them their go-to player, and third downs and such were very, very difficult to convert. So it was, a sort of a combination of factors, but that's the league. You're not always going to have your go-to guy. You're not always going to have the strength of your team maybe come through. Can you win in other ways? And they did not, or were not able to do that on Sunday.
Think we're going to see Michael Pittman back out there, and also update on Zach Moss?
I think there's a good chance of seeing Michael Pittman. Look, I mean, with concussions, we all know these things boil down to the evaluations and whether players pass the protocol. But he effectively did pass the protocol last week after flying to Atlanta with the team on Saturday night. He had some recurrence of symptoms, and then they just kind of made the wise decision to just sit him out of the game at that point. But he practiced, or he has practiced this week. He has shown he has met all the checkpoints, I guess, so far in the protocol. So Michael Pittman, we'd have to say at this moment, looking very possibly to be available on Sunday. Zach Moss is a little tougher to project. He's been a limited participant in practice this week. But I would say this, if they get him back, Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor have not played together in a month. So that would be a big boost for the running game.
You did mention that they couldn't find another way to win without Pittman being in the game. The leading receivers in that game were tight ends. Is there anyone that if Pittman doesn't go, that we could see step up from a receiver standpoint?
Well, I think the onus will fall on guys like Alec Pierce, a second-year receiver for the Colts, is a second-round pick in 2022. He's been more of a deep threat for the Colts, so he hasn't had maybe the same usage as a guy like Michael Pittman, who plays, the very plays an important role that's sort of in the middle of the field. So I think really what they need is for Alec Pierce to be able to play a more versatile role. And then you've got a rookie, Josh Downs from North Carolina, who has really been effectively their number 2 receiver this year out of the slot. The problem is he, being that slot receiver, obviously some limitations in what he can do, particularly with his size. So that is something they have to overcome as well. But I do think the tight ends, as you mentioned, the tight ends really do come into play when Michael Pittman is not on the field. They don't have one go-to tight end. They have a collection of tight ends here in Indy, but that position looms large in this offense. Even though they do it by committee, that position has a big role in the offense.
I want to go back to what you said about the Colts losing at the line of scrimmage, the offensive line. I'll tell you, going up against the Raiders, that's not a time to have an offensive line that's not winning at the line of scrimmage. I know that Gardner Minshew got his head knocked off, 6 sacks against the Falcons. Might this be a big day for that Raiders defensive line that's played so well?
It's a big challenge for the Colts, no doubt about it. I think a couple of things. Number one, they may get some good news this week. Right tackle Braden Smith, who has not played in, I believe, 4 or 5 weeks. He has practiced this week. He's looked really good. I watched him closely in practice, and he looks like he might be good to go coming off of that knee injury that has held him back. But he hasn't played in a while. But he could be matched up with Max Crosby quite a bit in this game. So I'm looking forward to see what that matchup might look like. They have had a rookie backing him up, Blake Freeland. So that's been a huge challenge at right tackle, particularly on that edge. I know Crosby likes to line up on that side quite a bit. So that could be an interesting matchup. Now, the offensive line as a whole, as you said, this is not a good time to not have your best stuff as an offensive unit. Because as you mentioned, that Raiders unit, I mean, I was looking at the defensive numbers in total since Antonio took over. They are extremely impressive, and the Colts are very well aware of that. I would just add, as an aside, not necessarily to your question, but wide receivers coach Reggie Wayne spent some time with us today, and he always really good with insight because he played for so long and he knows so many these coaches across the league. He was asked about Antonio Pierce, and one of the things he said is that he sees a team that is really invested in their coach and is really playing for him. He said it's very clear in the way they're playing. So that was his observation about the Raiders right now. And I think that mirrors what a lot of people think about Las Vegas right now.
I'll tell you, Reggie Wayne is the best of the best. By the way, tell Wheezy I said hi. I don't think he lets people call him Wheezy on the team, but that's what we used to call him. Aiden O'Connell
right.
On the other end is going to see pressure as well, right? 3 different Colts have 8 sacks or more. That is really impressive. What makes the Colts pass rush so hard to stop?
It's been a pleasant surprise, first of all, this year. I mean, I thought that pass rush coming into this season was something that I considered to be a concern for this team. They have tried lots of different solutions there, and none of them have really been effective on a consistent basis. This year, they're still doing it by committee for the most part, but they're all getting a part of it. And I think that's really what they kind of designed it to be. They thought this might be a pass rush unit that did it in waves. And I would say that's what we have seen. So I like what I've seen from that group. They haven't really done it necessarily with one, standout pass rusher. They don't have a Max Crosby. They have some effective rushers, but they're definitely doing it with a team effort. And they do it inside and outside. So DeForest Buckner this year, he's been an all-pro at defensive tackle. He doesn't have big sack numbers this year, but he draws consistent double teams. And that opens up those guys in other spots to get one-on-one matchups, and it's up to them to win. And so they are winning more often this year. Colts top 5 in the NFL in sacks. So that's a big step forward. And they're doing it with Gus Bradley, who was certainly with the Raiders. As you know, he is not a coach that uses a lot of pressure tactics. You're going to get a 4-man rush from this team almost exclusively. And so to develop, or I should say to generate that kind of pass rush with the 4-man rush, that's particularly impressive. So I give them a lot of credit for that. And we'll see if they can continue to do that. I think that's going to be a big factor in this game.
Well, Stephen, what about the run defense, though? Because Bijan Robinson had a field day last week, and to be fair, a lot of that was catches out of the backfield, like yards from scrimmage kind of plays. But I'm not sure if Josh Jacobs, we don't know his status, we don't know if he's going to play, but could he or Zamir White, who had a huge game against the Chiefs, take advantage of what we saw was a lax run defense last week?
I think it's going to be a gut check for the Colts. A big part of their problem with Bijan Robinson last week, you are right, he did have a lot of success. I thought a big part of their issues was not so much that they didn't play good run defense as much as they didn't tackle very well. And that's not something I've seen a lot of. I mean, the Colts, for example, have the NFL's leading tackler in the middle of their defense and linebacker Zaire Franklin. So, that speaks to, the kind of tackling team that they are. Usually a pretty sure-handed tackling team, but that was very lacking last week. They can't do that again. They've got to be physical. They've got to get guys on the ground. They pride themselves in not allowing too many big plays, particularly in the running game. But if you're not going to tackle consistently, those big plays are going to happen. So that has to be something that they get a handle on going into Sunday. It was not really characteristic of the Colts defense. But they're also going to be playing their first full game without Julian Blackmon, their injured strong safety. He's their 3rd leading tackler right now, and a guy who plays a really important support role against the run. So I think that's going to be a situation now where you have 2 second-year players at safety starting for the Colts on Sunday, and Nick Cross and Rodney Thomas. The communication now becomes a question. And certainly the run support is going to be tested as well.
All right, we'll see if the Raiders are able to attack the middle of the field against the Colts. Hey, we look forward to seeing you out there in the press box as the Colts take on the Raiders this Sunday. Thanks for being with us, Stephen.
Hey, you got it. Anytime.
All right, coming up, he's been a Raider for only 5 games, but man, has Jack Jones been a huge shot in the arm. We sit down with the playmaking corner next on the Silver and Black Show. The Silver and Black Show is powered by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. 1800 Tequila, official partner of the Raiders. Taste is everything. Please drink responsibly. Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Las Vegas Raiders and the NFL. Welcome back. On November 13th, this man, he was looking for a job, but by November 14th, he was already a Raider. Jack Jones, welcome to the Silver and Black Show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. It's got to be. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I have to know the story. Did Antonio Pierce reach out to you immediately, and what was your reaction when you knew the Raiders wanted to sign you that day?
When I knew the Raiders wanted to sign me, I was excited. I was happy for the opportunity, but the way my situation was, it wasn't for sure that I was going to the Raiders. So, I was kind of just praying and hoping God, landed me in the right situation. And, he did for sure. But, man, when it did happen, I didn't hit up AP, but my agent did, or agent hit up somebody to get in contact. And, the ball just kind of got rolling from there.
Well, you've talked a lot about fit in the media, not being a good fit for the Patriots. You left USC to go to ASU, a better fit. Now, after 5 games, do you feel like this fit with the Raiders is right? And more importantly, do you feel like you might have a home here?
Definitely. I mean, it's not even a question. This is the perfect fit, 10 out of 10. With AP being a coach and me and him doing this once again, it's a great opportunity. It's a blessing.
Yeah, Coach Pierce, he's known you since you were a little kid, going back to Long Beach Poly. By the way, shout out to the Jackrabbits.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that mascot. What did he know about you that maybe other coaches in the NFL didn't, that made him really want you to be his player?
He knew what type of player I was, what type of person I am off the field. He know that I'm not really a bad kid. I'm not a bad guy. I don't have bad intentions. Sometimes I make a couple mistakes, but he know it's never any bad intentions behind it. You know what I'm saying? So he understand that from experience and us working together. And, he just kind of took the opportunity and he talked to me and he told me, we got to do this the right way and, we got to handle business when I do get up here. What
did that faith in you mean to you?
That meant everything, just once again, him looking out for me, believing in me. It's unbelievable. It's a blessing, man. I couldn't even put in words, what AP meant to me.
Well, now you have defensive touchdowns in back-to-back games. I don't know if you know this, but the last guy to do that was the Raiders' very own Eric Allen, who's my co-host on Raiders Game Day, and now he's a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What has allowed you to become such an impactful ball hawk?
I would say AP. I honestly give it to Coach AP because, the situation I was in before, I just kind of didn't feel comfortable. I felt like it was a great situation because, I had a great opportunity, but it just never felt comfortable, So when I got over here, AP, he just kind of, brought back the love for the game and he helped me feel comfortable on the field. And, that was it for me to take off.
When he took over, this defense was 22nd in scoring defense. Now it is the #1 scoring defense in the NFL. But break down this Patrick Graham, Antonio Pierce collabo that has led to what is now the stingiest defense in the NFL recently.
It's the swag. It's the swag that we bring to the field. It's the, 11 guys trusting in one another and the whole defense trusting in the coaches. But it's definitely the swag. We overwhelm people with our swag.
You're a film guy. You watch a lot of film, and I know that you said against the Chiefs, you kind of recognized what the play was, and that's how you were able to get your hand on the ball because you saw it on film. Has that always been a big part of your game, or have you developed into that here in your second year?
I watch a lot of film on me, on myself. When it comes to other teams and learning about other teams, the coaches do that. So, it's like we're...
So they pointed out those plays to you that you recognized against the Chiefs.
Absolutely, so the coaches, they point out those plays and, I'm watching myself, trying to, coach myself and how I can get better. I don't really do too good watching film on the other team, trying to remember plays because then that leads to me guessing, So I let the coaches go out there and give us the playbook in a format and I just go and follow it.
You've already seen the Colts this season, back in Week 10 while still with the Patriots. What did you see from that offense up close and personal that maybe you can take into this game with the Raiders?
We definitely have a good chance to go out there and, dominate once again this week. But, we got to believe in one another, and we got to come together as a team and just fly around.
It does feel like there is a dramatic culture change in that Raiders locker room this season. And on Christmas Day, we saw a defense that walked into Arrowhead against the defending Super Bowl champs and just had a swagger, which you talked about. We saw that on the television. What is the identity and mentality of this group of men right now, especially the defense?
Fight. You got to fight back. When you're back against the wall, you got to keep going. And don't look at what it was. Look at what it could be and how we moving forward to get to where we want it to be. So it's really just simple. We just got to go out there and execute our game plan.
I know you don't talk about playoffs. I know it's like the word you're not supposed to say. But after that Chiefs win, did it change your perspective on what's possible?
Yeah, we still believe. Before the Chiefs game, we still believe to this day that we can make playoffs. Don't lose faith in that. You got to look at the good side.
All right, well, we can't wait to see you back. Let's make it 3 defensive touchdowns in 3 games. Why not?
Let's see what happens.
All right, thanks, Jack. We appreciate you being on the show.
No problem. Thank you.
Coming up, can the Raiders offense get back in the groove in Indy? We break it down with our own James Jones next. Welcome back. The Raiders head to Indy looking to knock the Colts out of their wild card spot. But if they're going to do that, they'll have to score some points. To talk about it, let's bring in our very own James Jones. James, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's good to see you, my friend.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's always good to see you guys, man. You guys are my family. What's going on?
Well, what's going on is the Raiders have 2 ways to get into the playoffs. They can either win the division, which is crazy to think, or they can move into a wild card spot. What does this AFC playoff picture look like for the Raiders? What do you think their chances are?
Well, number one, I think they got good chances because I think they got 2 winnable games that they could find a way to get this done. But the Broncos game does not matter unless you get this game done. So for me, the only thing that you are worried about right now is the Indianapolis Colts. There shouldn't be no playoff talks right now in that locker room. We have to find a way to beat the Colts. And once we beat the Colts, we'll let all that other stuff play out and we'll see where we're at and we'll go into the next week. But I truly like our chances to win these last 2 games. I don't know how it may shake out, but I do like our chances to go out there and win these 2 last games. We are playing the right football at the right time. Even though the offense is struggling, when it's signs of a good football team, the defense is stepping up and making plays, and the offense is trying to finish off drives and close out football games.
Yeah, they certainly just have to handle their business first and then let the chips fall where they may. But there's so much national buzz right now about Antonio Pierce. Everybody, I know you're talking about it over on Fox. From a player's perspective, how does a coach come in and change the mindset of an entire team, which it appears AP is doing?
Well, last time I checked, Amber, players know players. And Antonio Pierce played this game at a very, very high level, had a lot of success, won some Super Bowls, beat me on the route to a Super Bowl. So I still really don't like him. But it's all good. But no, one thing about Antonio Pierce, man, one thing you cannot teach or coach unless you really done it is just really the passion and the effort. When you watch the Las Vegas Raiders play football, they play Raiders football. The nasty, the grimy, the intensity, all of that. When you step on the football field, coaches coming out there in black Air Force Ones, that is the mindset of the football team, and that is how they are playing with that intensity. This was not here when this season started, when they were under Coach McDaniels. And Antonio Pierce brought a whole different mindset. And the only reason he brought that mindset is because that's the mindset that he had as a player and which had him have all that success. And that is what you are seeing with the Raiders right now. And listen, to go into Kansas City, to struggle on offense the way you struggle, for the defense to put it on Patrick Mahomes and that offense the way they did, kudos to Antonio Pierce, and it should be a lot of buzz around there, and Raider Nation should be very excited about what Antonio Pierce is bringing.
I love that you use the word grimy, because I'll tell you who's grimy, who's black Air Force One kind of guy, Jack Jones. We just sat down with Jack on this show. The man scored 2 defensive touchdowns in back-to-back games. How has his success elevated AP's reputation, not just as a talent evaluator, but also as an evaluator of men.
Yeah, number one, all Joneses is grimy. We just get like that. You know what I'm saying? That's just how we
Co-sign.
feel. We just find a way to get it done, and we grimy, So, Jack Jones has been balling, and he said it. He said it earlier in the week, like, look, Patrick Mahomes good and all that type of stuff, but we finna get in their face and we finna play some football, and that's exactly what they did. But that is one thing I'm truly excited about Antonio Pierce, because you can be this guru, scout, and all that type of stuff. Oh, that's cool. But when you play the game, and when you've been on elite defenses, you know exactly what you need to make your defense elite. You know exactly what you need to make your team elite. And you know exactly the mindset of the players that you are looking for. And as a player, now coach, he coached a lot of these kids, been in the locker room, so he knows how this stuff is supposed to look. So that is what I'm most excited about. I'm loving what he's doing this year, but I would love to see him get the opportunity to keep this job and be able to bring the players he needs in here and knows what he wants to make this football team look the way he wants this football team to look. And it's starting off great with Jack Jones, him getting that addition, knowing he coached a kid in high school and brought him to Arizona State, and now he's with the Raiders. And he is a dog. He's grimy. Jones is grimy, and he's balling, making Antonio Pierce look good.
We're gonna print the T-shirts. All Joneses are grimy. I can't wait for that to come out.
That's it.
The defense went from allowing 23 points a game to 15 points a game since this coaching change. The Colts average 23, though, so they can score some points. What are the key defensive matchups that we need to watch if the Raiders are going to get a hold of that offense?
Well, it's our defensive line and our linebackers. I think that's going to have to be the group that sets the tone in this football game, because it's one thing they want to do. They want to get the football out of Gardner Minshew's hands, and they want to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss and those boys. They want to run the football. They got a really good offensive line, really good run game. They want to run the ball. So our defensive line, even the guys not named Max Crosby, the guys that's been stepping up, balling, the Kuntzes, all those guys that's been balling, this defensive line has been playing at a high level. Obviously, the linebackers have been playing well, so they have to be able to stop this run, make the Colts one-dimensional, and if we can, we will get our hands on some footballs from Gardner Minshew and be able to hold them under 15 points like we've been doing, and that's big-time defense, Amber. You're talking about 15 points. You are going to win a lot of football games, even if I'm at quarterback and you at the slot receiver. We're going to win some games if we only got
Don't underestimate that. That would be fire. Don't underestimate that. That would be fire. I would be out there just cutting on them. You mentioned guys not named Max Crosby. That has been an underrated storyline because everybody says Max needs help. He's getting help. Yeah. The Malcolm Kuntz, Adam Butlers, Spillane. I mean, who are some of the guys that are making Max's job a little easier?
I mean, the main guy that stands out is Kuntz, because when you watch Kuntz, he's getting one-on-one block right now, and he cannot be blocked. So that's taking a lot of attention off of Max Crosby, because it's like, okay, listen, we can't slide the protection over here to Max no more because Kuntz is wrecking the game. And lately, man, these last couple games, man, the last 4 or 5 games, he has been in the backfield wrecking football games. You cannot block him one-on-one. And we've been looking for that. We've been saying, is it going to be Chandler Jones? Is it going to be the first-round pick? Who is it going to be? And it so happened to be Kuntz coming off the edge, making big-time plays, and it's taking a lot of attention off of Max Crosby. And guys have to start planning to be able to stop him and slow him down, and that's going to free Max up.
All right, well, on the other side, the Colts defense has some bangers themselves. They are Franklin. He leads the league in tackles. Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner. How does Aiden O'Connell match up with this defense?
Well, number one, we got to start where we always start, and that's with the run game. I think that's what we did well last game. Look, we got to have an identity. We got to start with the run game, and we got to come off the run game with the play-action pass. And listen, if we are on the same page, Amber, in that Kansas City Chiefs game, that game looks totally different. It might be a blowout on Christmas Day. Davante Adams cooked the dude in the slot a couple times to where the ball was behind him. One of them he dropped. It was another one to where he was working Davante Adams on the slant incomplete pass, and Jacoby Myers cooked him on a whip route on the other side if he was working that side. So I think as he goes in and he watches his tape, he's always learned from week to week as he watched the tape, and he comes out the next week even better. So I'm looking for that to happen. But we had plays out there on the football field. We just have to make the plays. And I think those same plays will present themselves. They have nobody in the secondary that can handle Jacoby Myers and Davante Adams. So we should be good there. we protect, we be able to get the ball out, we on the same page. I think the offense will bounce back and have a nice day.
You know what, though? They definitely need some consistency. They can't have 0 points against the Vikings, 63 points against the Chargers, and then only 6 against the Chiefs. So it's almost like which offense will show up. But I'll tell you a new development that was pretty cool over the last couple of games. You got to credit the offensive line and Zamir White, who as a backup came in and ran for 145 yards. I mean, what does his emergence mean for this offense? I know you said don't talk about playoffs, but especially if you get in the playoffs when you need to play defense and run the ball.
Yeah. No, I think this is big time because, number one, I think this gives our offense a little bit more versatility when you could get Josh Jacobs back. You know, because when you get Josh Jacobs back and then the young fella Zamir White is running the football the way he's running the football now you might have a couple packages to where we put these boys on the field at the same time. Like, hey, you don't know what's going to happen. We could throw these screens out here to Josh Jacobs because he's really good at catching the ball. And we can either come downhill running the ball at you with Zamir White, but we can have them on the field at the same time. But I love it because him and Josh Jacobs are so different but the same at the same time. He's a downhill runner. He's physical. He's not going to do a lot of moves. Josh is a downhill runner, but Josh will also put a couple of them moves on you. So you got a little bit of the same guys that's running through arm tackles. They're not getting tackled by one guy, but I will love to see these dudes on the field when they're both healthy, on the field at the same time, being able to give some of these defenses some problems. So I think that's going to be a good addition, especially with the way he's running the ball as of late.
All right, James, we're looking forward to seeing you get back here for Raiders game day. We'll see you right after the game against the Colts. I know you're doing your big thing in LA out there, but get back here to Vegas with us.
Yeah, I know y'all need a little bit of Jones love in there. You know, you need a little cuckoo in the building. I'll be back soon.
And you bring enough of it, James. Thanks so much, and a happy New Year to you.
Not a problem. Same to you.
All right, coming up in one last thing, the NFL sent out a tweet giving the Raiders defense some love. We'll tell you why this unit has become one of the best in the NFL. Next. The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. Chevron with Techron gives you unbeatable cleaning and mileage. Chevron, together ahead. Time now for one last thing. 8 weeks ago, the Raiders had no identity, and now they've evolved into a defensive juggernaut. It's a fact that CBS's Jim Nantz and Tony Romo pointed out on Monday's game broadcast.
This defense is flying around. They play together. They all play hard, and they are fundamentally so sound right now, setting the edge, turning it back in, disruptive.
The numbers back it up. The Raiders defense has given up just 17 points in its last 3 games while scoring 2 defensive touchdowns in back-to-back games. That hasn't happened in 10 years. Since Week 9, they are the #1 scoring defense in the NFL. And another big change is turnovers. Before Week 8, the Raiders were -8 in the turnover differential. Since Week 9, they're +5. Last week, the NFL's official X account gave them some love. And the NFL's right. The Raiders defense has become a force to be reckoned with. And remember the Max needs some help cries? Well, help has arrived, and Crosby is posting appreciation tweets himself. Look at this. Malcolm Kuntz, that's the tweet. Kuntz is up to 7 sacks this year, and the Raiders now have a pass rush that no quarterback wants to see.
They did a good job of flipping coverages. They did a good job, and when they were in man, playing pretty good coverage. When they were in zone, they were in the right spots. And then the defensive line got home whenever they needed to. They had a good game plan. They played hard. They played a good football game, and all credit to them, man.
With a dominant defense and a powerful ground game, the Raiders just might be that ground and pound type team that's historically built for the playoffs. Now the question is, will they get in? They'll have to take care of business this Sunday against the Colts. New Year's Eve kickoff set for 10 a.m. Pacific from Lucas Oil Stadium. We're going to see you right back here after the game for Raiders Game Day. Have a great weekend, everyone.